What's going on, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the weekly live news and Q&A show built just for you. I'm Chris Grant, along with my abstemious co-host, Chris Rasick. Today, we will chat a few pieces of news of interest to Amazon sellers and take your questions about anything relating to Amazon, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, or wholesale. Now, before we dive in, today's show is brought to you by Aura. Aura is my favorite Amazon repricer. If you're looking to break through that $10,000 a month sales barrier, I think you've got to check out Aura's early stage program. It's $27 a month for an AI-powered repricer. And I found out something really interesting recently. On average, sellers using Aura are breaking through that $10,000 a month ceiling in less than 58 days. And I would have thought that it would be more than double that in most cases. Aura's also been optimizing some things like crazy, making listings import and pricing activity data 30 times faster. And they've been doing a great job over there. So go check out Aura. Give them a try over at cleartheshelf.com/repricer, or hit the link that's down in the video description and give them a whirl. So, Chris, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Tell you what, that if you, I know you should listen to our episodes, our podcast. We've talked about it. We've gone in depth. We've had Dylan on a couple times, but if you don't have, and I'm still shocked that people still don't have a repricer.
Me too.
Like, you need one. Like, just it's one of those. I call them kind of like turnstile tools. You know, it's where once you go through, you won't ever even want to go back, right? You won't ever want to not have a repricer. I mean, it's amazing what it does. Any of them, you know, but especially this deal that Aura runs. If you don't have a repricer and you miss out on this deal and you get one later, you're really going to kick yourself. I mean, I don't even use Aura myself, but that's how much I like and appreciate what a good deal this is. So
yeah, that's a really good term. I like that term, turnstile tool. That's really good.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, there's just stuff. I mean, the door shuts behind you, and you're never going back to the room that you just came from. So
yeah, I like that. All right, lock your pets away. Make sure your cats are safe. Let's get to a little bit of news. Amazon is making some positive changes to MCF, or multi-channel fulfillment. That's going to be getting faster. It's not something I really take advantage of, but this is a good deal for people who do. And you may not believe this. I might have to read this twice, but they're going to be making these improvements at zero additional cost to the Amazon seller, which is unusual. Now, maybe it's just for now, and maybe in a month or 2 months, this changes. But here's the deal. Standard delivery for multi-channel fulfillment has been cut down from 5 business days to 3 business days. Expedited delivery has been shaved down from 3 business days to 2 business days. And the old priority delivery option, well, that's been discontinued altogether. So why does this even matter? Why are we bringing this up? Well, you know those eBay customers that message you like 10 minutes after they've paid to ask where their stuff is? Well, it's because of them. We know that customers want their products yesterday. So by being able to offer some quicker shipping through MCF at no additional cost, you, of course, can keep customers happy and hopefully make a few extra sales if you're cross-listing this Q4 on some non-Amazon sales channels. eBay, Shopify, Walmart, whatever that might be. And yes, you can list and sell even on Walmart through the MCF. Just make sure you're doing it the right way. Now, I was thinking about this because on the face of it, it just sounds like good news. But I want to play devil's advocate so that we are accused of being Amazon apologists a little bit less than we currently are. I was thinking this might be a way that Amazon is trying to get sellers to be a little bit more tied to their ecosystem. If brand owners and sellers know they can just send their inventory to Amazon, they can sell it on other platforms and get the items shipped faster. Amazon may have a little bit more golden handcuffs with sellers who may have been thinking about spreading out their inventory among other fulfillment services. We know that FedEx offers one, although does anybody even use that? I have no idea. And this, of course, will help Amazon's bottom line because there is a fee there for this option. And there is, there's data. Data is good, and Amazon would get this data as well. So if you're using multi-channel fulfillment, this might be a good time to maybe change up your delivery speeds on any other channels you might be selling on to make sure you're being more competitive. And you may need to remove the priority option if you have it available on eBay or some other places, just to make sure somebody doesn't accidentally choose it, because you will have to choose expedited, which is going to cost you more.
Yeah, I have a new slogan. We like to have anagrams. Like I have a new anagram, and it's similar. It's not Wi-Fi, but it's Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi. What's in it for Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the first question that pops into my head. And you're right. Certainly it's dependency on the framework, on the infrastructure that they've built. Although I wonder how much of it is simply them being really good at that part of the business. Maybe it's just like, look, we can, so we will, and then the one part of me, the underdog reason that I'm secretly hoping for, but I don't have a lot of faith in, is hopefully this is Amazon realizing that they can't keep pushing fees, right? Like, I want to say that they got a couple pizzas and into the boardroom and it was like, you know what, maybe we just do a little gratis, like,
right.
Maybe we should not put a price tag on one of these changes that we're making. But like I said, I don't have a lot of faith in that answer.
That's a beautiful thought. It really is.
It is. It's just like world peace, right? It's
right. Yeah, that's, I don't know. This is, I think you might be right about the first part. This kind of seems like the Kingsford charcoal of Amazon. We're already doing this thing well. So let's go ahead and let's just create another product out of it. And Amazon's not the only one doing this, of course. You and I talked about Pattern. They're opening up a 3PL essentially, because they're good at inbound shipping to Amazon. So they're going to turn that into a profit center. So it makes sense for Amazon to do this, because they are so good at the logistics side.
Yeah, it's like getting a cheap flight on a cargo plane. It's like, we've got a couple hundred square feet left over. We might as well sell it.
There are some beauty burdens coming. Beauty has been the thing that Amazon sellers have been complaining about the most lately. I've been seeing people, get rid of a lot of their beauty products at a loss or at break even, just to kind of get out of that particular niche on Amazon. And they have made it a little bit harder. We remember, a couple of years ago, they did this to toys. They required updated listings. They required CPC documents. Well, it's happening for beauty as well. By September the 24th, to comply with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration requirements and Amazon policy, which I'm guessing got added in there, recently, you're going to need to ensure that your product listings are up to date. Listings that don't meet guidelines may be at risk of deactivation. This, of course, is to ensure customers receive safe and trusted blah, blah, blah. But here's what you're going to need. To remain compliant, your product listing detail must contain a complete list of product ingredients, either through image or text or both. Any drug facts, if the product or ingredient is classified as a drug, the product name, purpose, quantity, ingredients, and manufacturer information. Changes made to the detail pages. A detail page and images can take up to 2 to 4 hours, or it may never change because Amazon does not really allow Amazon sellers to make changes to listings. So I don't know how this is actually going to play out. Are we going to see mass deactivations? Is this going to be like the CPCs where they're like, oh, you've got till the 24th, and then 3 months down the road, the listing is still up? I'm curious, like, how big of a deal this is actually going to be.
Yeah, that's the burning question. Jessica in the comments at 504, she wants to know the same thing. There's not no one knows for sure right now. And this is, it's pretty scary, to be honest. Because we knew, people are getting, like you said, deactivated. We're not making that up. That's happened before for people that didn't remove listings that were going restricted. I'd love to know where the disconnect is with Amazon to where they think that, obviously it's their own catalog, it's their own marketplace. They see all of their listings, a ton, not all, but they see a ton of their listings with multiple FBA offers, right? But yet they continually use this language as if each one of those sellers has the authority and the ability to change the listing. Like, that's just like, I don't know. I don't get it. That's such a huge disconnect and something that seems so obvious, but it's probably a good example of, just the bureaucracy that exists in a company the size of Amazon, right?
I was thinking the same thing. I remember, back in my day, but I remember when you could make changes to listings pretty much at will. If there was something wrong, we could fix it. I found misspellings all the time in the catalog. And because I probably have undiagnosed OCD, I would change them on a regular basis. And it was no problem, no pushback. Oh, great. You're fixing the catalog. And it's, of course, changed over time. They want to protect the catalog, and and probably a lot of bad actors have caused this to be the case. And now they really want brand owners to make the changes. And I do wonder, why does the left hand not know what the right hand is doing so badly when it comes to this?
Right.
In a company that claims they try to use a flat org chart, it doesn't make sense.
No, and why is it one extreme to the other? It's like, all right, yeah, do whatever you need, carte blanche back in the day. And then, single items get, or 5-packs get changed to 1-packs on the fly, and reviews tank, and seller, there's a bunch of just unhappy customers and sellers. So their solution was, all right, let's yank 100% of that away. Like, how do you not get to the point where somebody says, you know what, the right thing to do is probably somewhere in the middle? Like, this is not that difficult.
You bring up a really good point. And Amazon has a history of doing this. It's always a massive pendulum swing. We're seeing it now in beauty. Beauty was a great category. The pendulum is swinging the other direction, and it happens to be my favorite category to sell in, but not so much because it's getting really freaking difficult. They did it with toys, same exact thing. There was one little issue. We need CPCs for everything. And Yeah, I don't know. What C-suite executive, is saying Amazon should be bipolar in this way, and people are just saying absolutely every single time. Uh, I don't know.
Yeah, Amazon's like the 1950s dad. We keep slamming the door, and they just took it off the hinges. Like come on, like let's compromise a little bit. I mean, this is another example. We've talked about it. It's been a while since we talked about it, but I think it was more of a common topic when last time Jeff Schick was on. But there really needs to be liaisons on both sides, and it would be a nightmare to elect, and have the bulk of third party sellers be satisfied with their representative, for lack of a better word. That's the process sucks. Don't think that I'm saying, oh no, it's easy. Chris, you do it. It's like, or God, think about some of the slander that's going on Twitter. There are a bunch of very bad choices that are possible too. But there needs to be a series. Like, we need a council of seller representatives to meet with, and accept for Amazon to present their own committee, and there needs to be communication. I mean, so much could be solved, right? It's like I keep thinking of that. There's a comedian that says, he's talking about religion and God, right? And he goes, I don't get it. He goes, 2,000 years ago, the guy was popping up in bushes and talking to people and writing on stones, and he used to talk to us all the time. He goes, but for the last 2,000 years, nothing. He goes, so many of the world's problems could be solved if God had a 10-minute press conference. It's like kind of the same thing. It's like, just talk to us. Like, we can iron out so much of this just dumb stuff that we deal with.
Yeah. I offer myself as tribute. If Amazon would do this, I don't think it would be fun, but I would serve on that committee. It would be worthwhile.
I think that's the issue. I think it would be Hunger Games. You'd have to kill all the other candidates, in order to,
right,
to make it to the council table to talk.
There can only be one.
Right.
There's a bit of a billionaire brouhaha going on. It's happening here in Florida. And I want to unpack this billionaire drama with you. It of course involves Jeff Bezos. A Miami homeowner is suing his realtor for failing to disclose that Bezos was the buyer of his $79 million mansion. So here's the issue. Leo Chris, I think is his name, is the co-founder of a Brazilian toy company, Tech Toy. And he listed his 7-bedroom, 14-bathroom waterfront mansion on Miami's Indian Creek Island, which is often called Billionaire Bunker, for the blushingly modest price of $85 million last year. Now, according to Chris, he had suspicions about the buyer and even asked if it was Bezos who put in a $79 million offer. But here's where it gets interesting. According to Chris's lawsuit, the CEO of Douglas Elliman Realty, Jay Parker, personally assured Chris that the buyer wasn't Bezos. Based on that assurance, Chris agreed to drop the price by 7.1%. But after the deal closed, Chris found out the buyer was indeed tied to Bezos. Now Chris is suing. He's claiming that if he'd known Bezos was the buyer, he never would have cut the price. His lawsuit goes on to argue that the knowledge Bezos was attempting to, he calls it, assemble properties next door was highly material to the sale. And Bezos was doing just this. He bought 3 homes on the island, not just one. I don't know what he's doing, but now apparently this is my wife just went through real estate school and I asked her, but apparently realtors often conceal the identity of wealthy buyers to try to avoid, hiking the price. But this guy, Chris, is now seeking up to $6 million in damages, accusing Douglas Elliman of failing to fulfill his duties. And of course, the realtor who handled the sale denied involvement. So what's the takeaway here? Nothing really. It's just it really was kind of a slow news week, and this tawdry headline kind of caught my eye while I was doing a little research.
Yeah, you got nothing on it, because I could go off on this. This hits. This is one of my pet peeves, or very closely related. So
I'll take it. I'm down for a soapbox.
Okay. Defender of massive corporations that I am, this pisses me off. Like, look, Chris, not you, but the Leo, is it Leo?
Yeah.
Leo, yeah. Leo, Chris, you agreed to a bad deal, asshole. Like, sorry about your luck. Okay. Like so there's this concept, and I wish there was a better name to it, but it sounds pretty basic. But there's this thing called wealth resentment, right? And I hate it, and it makes me angry, right? And I think, when I was, and I've always hated it, even when I was like a long time ago, when I first kind of like started realizing this and observing this around me. I hope part of me is that I hope to be the wealthy person one day, like, so if I fight it from the ground level now, hopefully I'm paving a smoother path for my future riches. But like, number one, who is the person that deserves a $6 million discount off of your $85 million asking price? Like, what favor are you getting? Like, so where does that fall in your wealth inequality of who deserves what sort of discount? Like, what a stupid concept. I hope this gets thrown out. And then Leo
with
has to
prejudice.
pay any legal fees. Yes, exactly. This, and I know I've told you, I don't know if I said this on a podcast or not, but like, when I was in the mortgage business, right, I was a loan officer, and I got in right when rates first dropped, right, and this was late 90s, early aughts, and it was 40-year lows, where that was all of the headlines, right? And it was a period of time where, I mean, you had a bunch of people who just years prior to had mortgages in the double digits, right? I mean, they had 12% mortgages, right? So, and rates had fallen to like 4%. So people just, you could stumble into saving yourself hundreds upon hundreds of dollars every single month. It was incredible, right? Objectively incredible, massive savings, right? So, so I got in, and it was commission only, right? And so I worked for this one guy, and he managed one shop. He opened up his own shop, and I followed him there because I really, really liked him. I thought he was a really smart guy. We had some really long, deep conversations. And it was a great time, right? I mean, there was money. You could make money just by picking up the phone, right? It was the gravy, the golden age. But anyway, and then the brewing of the foreclosure crisis started, right? And people were selling 2-year adjustable arms, and then so rates. Yeah, I think I sold a few 3-year arms, but I was like, I didn't sell any 2-year arms, I promise you, because it's just a stupid idea, right? And these were adjusting, and people, didn't understand or weren't told or whatever what their rate was going to adjust to in the 25th month, and right, and it was all starting, and it was starting to get ugly. The writing was starting to be on the wall, right? And there started a rumor in this office, and we were up to about 15 total, including the owners. There was a husband and wife owners. A rumor started, and it was like, it said, hey, that those two are paying themselves $200,000 a year, right? And I said, no, I don't know that, and neither do you. I said, where the hell did you come up with that? And you're like, that's what so and so said, right? And so it started going around the office, completely unfounded. I mean, these guys, this guy drove like an 18-year-old Ford Ranger, for Christ's sake. If he was making 200,000, he was, I don't know, right? So it was clearly not obvious, and I was closer to him than probably the people who started the rumor or whatever. But it burned me up. It's like, why do people, when you perceive that someone makes more money or has more money than you, why do certain people find themselves so compelled to decide how they should spend their money, right? And why are they so opinionated on what they do or do not spend this money? It boggles my mind, and it pisses me off. And that's what I see here in this story.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. First of all, in their defense, the Ford Ranger is the Cadillac of small pickup trucks.
Except that he used to pick people up from the airport, like high, like C-suite of some of these lenders that he was trying to get sweetheart deals, and like he'd have somebody with him so that all three of them would have to fit into this compact pickup truck. It's quite a first impression, right? That's who this is who was making $200,000 a year, right?
Yeah. The other thing is the pocket watching makes no sense to me. First of all, if I hate the stigma around people not talking about money. I wish that people talked about money more often. But I know that there is this stigma around it. People pocket watch and, guess how much people make, but why be upset about it? If I know someone is making a healthy amount of money or they're making more money than me, I'm happy for them. Like, that's great. Good on you. And hey, can I ask you some questions? Because I'm sure there's something I can learn. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's hypocritical to decide that you want to keep score, like I want to read the Fortune article, the annual, richest people in the world. Like these websites get massive traffic of, you could put, usually if you put a celebrity's name in, within the first 3 to 5 Google suggestions will be net worth. Yep. People are constantly checking on, we've decided that we want to keep score. But now all of a sudden we've got an adjusted, moral compass on where all your riches that we want to know all about, what you do with them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. We've got a couple quick hits and then we'll start answering some questions for you guys. GameStop's Q2 net sales fell 31.4% to 798 million. That's down from about 1.2 billion a year ago. That's what they said in a Tuesday earnings announcement. Gross profit for Q2 fell about 19% to 249 million, which is down from 306 million a year ago. Now, they did swing back to profitability, so their net income was 14.8 million for Q2 versus a net loss of 2.8 million a year ago, but they posted an operating loss of 22 million for the 3 months ending August the 3rd. And so they've decided they're going to be doing a store portfolio optimization review, which is a really long way of saying we're going to be closing down some stores. And it says that this may result in a closure of a larger number of stores than we have closed in the past few years. Now, I did not go and look at how many stores that they've closed in the past few years, but it's not great. I can tell you that much. However, I saw this and I brought it up because, one company's downfall is an arbitrage seller's, gold mine. So I would suggest you guys keep an eye out for which ones of these GameStops are closing when they're doing clearance sales, because not only can you get really cheap inventory sometimes, but you can go talk to the managers and say, hey, I'd love to buy out as much stuff as I possibly can if you're willing to, sell at maybe a discount, in bulk. But chances are there will likely be fixtures and things like that that may be up for sale as well. So if you want, they're usually smaller footprint stores, GameStop, so it's not like they have a bunch of shelving and things, but maybe they've got a pallet jack in the back, maybe they've got some shelving in the back, those kind of things. I've never been in the back of a GameStop, so I don't know. But they'll often sell those kind of things for pretty cheap as well if you need them for a warehouse or a garage or something like that.
And they potentially have larger promo materials that have been sent to them by new releases that would look wonderful on your Facebook Marketplace.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other quick hit we've got today is citing continued inflation and high interest rates. 33% of consumers say they are going to spend less this year on holiday shopping than in 2023. This is according to a new report from Bankrate. 24% of shoppers surveyed said they would spend more this holiday season. 43% said they're going to spend about the same. And nearly a quarter of shoppers said that the cost of holiday shopping will stress their budget. So about 25%. That survey was of 2,300 U.S. adults. This survey was about 2,300 U.S. adults. It also found that older generations tend to be more stressed about holiday shopping. This was led by Gen X at 34%, followed by millennials at 29%, boomers at 25%, and then Gen Z at 21%. And Gen X, that makes perfect sense. They're right in that phase of accumulation. That we've got the house, we've got the kids, we've got the 2 cars, and and a dog. So those budgets are probably stressed the most. Now, I always take these with a little bit of a grain of salt because we work ourselves up in this frenzy. I don't know. The economy doesn't seem that bad, even though everyone says it's really bad. And I don't know what it is objectively. I just know what it is subjectively. I always see people out shopping. I know credit card debt is at an all-time high, all of that stuff, but that is always going up and to the right, except for a little blip in 2020. And so I wonder how much of this is people are just saying it because it's the right thing to say, and how much of it is actually true.
Yeah, this is it's kind of like playing rock, paper, scissors if we took the paper and scissors out, right? And it would just 1, 2, 3, and we're both rock just over and over again until the end of time. Because for every article that you find, I can find you probably 2 to 3 that say the exact opposite, right? It was, in fact, I was looking at articles because I'm trying to put together the next newsletter, and so I have these RSS feeds, and that's one of the things that I look at is because I like sharing this kind of data, and if projections of increased spending over an upcoming holiday or something like that, or Q4 in general. Obviously that's news that I would like to share, and because that's positive, right? It's momentum. That's good for entrepreneurs in general. So I'm looking at the stuff constantly, and just today, like, okay, you said 33% of consumers say they will spend less this holiday shopping, right? Just today, no, I'm sorry, a couple days ago, I saw an article that said holiday spending will be stretched out. Like, people are starting to shop sooner, right? And that article, which, number one, even if they don't say it, you realize, consumers are going to spend more than they realize if you spread it out over a long enough time.
Yep.
You're never going to stay within whatever you've allotted for that holiday spending. So there's overspend right there. And then I think that article specifically mentioned an increase in spending, probably single digit, mid single digit, 4 to 6% increase over last year, right? So that's exactly, that's a direct contradiction to this information, right? citing the economy, right? That article says it cites economic, inflation, right? Just today, inflation hit 2.5%, the 12-month inflationary rate, which is the lowest since 2021, right? So inflation is a tenth of what it was when a headline like that would have been true, right? There was kind of like, it was pandemic, so it's a little bit artificial, but and then of course there's politics. One side needs to make the economy sound worse than it actually is because that's in their best interest, blah blah blah. We're not getting into that. Don't do it in the comments. And then and then the other article that I saw again today was household wages increased 4% over last year.
That's solid.
Yeah. So there's no inflation. You're making more money. You're going to shop over 3 full months now just for Christmas. So take that, draw 5 or whatever Uno is, to your doom and gloom. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I think probably 1 out of every 20 articles or 1 out of every 20 sources that you read this kind of news about is valid. And the other 19 just have no idea what they're talking about or have an agenda.
See, that's one of the things. And Luke, I want to hit your point. Only 2,400 people seems like a small sample size. I read a fair amount of these articles, and this is like an average sample size. When you get the numbers, like we'll go back to the politics example, and they're like, oh, well, in this state, so-and-so is ahead by this much. Those sample sizes are about the same size, and they expect it to be representative of the whole state. And I know that they try to, get a cross section in a lot of cases. But one of the other things that frustrates me, and I've taken polls before over the phone, is often pollsters can get the answer they want by framing the question the way that they want it. So if you really hit that, oh, hey, inflation is, has been really bad this year, how is that going to affect your holiday spending? Inflation's been bad. This is horrible news. I am definitely going to be cutting back this year. That's obviously how I would answer. So while these kind of headlines and these kind of stories, they make me click every single time. I do have to take these with a big grain of salt. Yeah.
It's funny, like in one personal example that is a microcosm of all of this. I have a family member who's just a few years older than me, was working under the table, got hurt very badly. So he's been off the grid as far as employment goes for about 30 years. Hasn't had a legitimate job, I think, since high school when he was bussing tables at a Brown Derby, to show you how far that goes back, right? And so and he's been just like odd job. I didn't know odd jobs like it was a career, but I mean he survives, right? So he he said something. There was a car needed fixed, whatever. He's a mechanic. That's most of his side jobs, right? And he said something about needing a part, and he's like, oh, it's like $120, man. And he's just, and he's, there's an accent and hillbilly-ish, right? Whatever you're picturing, and you're right. So, but he actually said, he goes, well, in this economy, I said, stop. I said, shut up. Don't ever use that phrase to me again. You have not been a contributing member of this economy since before. I couldn't buy a drink legally the last time you were an active participant in this economy. Don't say that phrase to me ever again, right? But that's just, it's just people see a headline and they're like, oh, like that's why. It's not my fault.
He sounds like the kind of guy who slaps his gut and says "whelp" a lot. Is that about right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's answer some of your guys' questions. The questions were showing up before the show even started, and to be honest with you, that makes me feel pretty good. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us every single week. We really do enjoy this. It's a good time. So, Jerry, do you guys have an opinion on customer service by Amazon program for active FBM MFN sellers? I do have an opinion. I don't think it's a good idea. And this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think that there is enough customer service that it really is a big deal. If you're having so much customer service that you are thinking about outsourcing your customer service, uh, one, good for you. That's a ton. That's a ton of volume. Or two, shame on you that you're causing that many issues. And I'm going to say for you, it's number one. Okay, good for you for having that kind of volume. But the second thing is I would pay someone on my own team that I could direct. This is how we do things. Create SOPs, because Amazon, they're going to play fast and loose when it's your money. This was 3 minutes late. Let's go ahead and refund you. And you pay for that as the seller, even though Amazon took care of it and made that decision for you. That really should be something that you do. And I think that's my opinion of that program.
Yeah. Amazon the term customer service there's emphasis on different syllables when Amazon says it than we do, because that's who they prefer is the customer. They're going to keep them happy.
Jeffrey, hey guys, in your recent podcast, the interviewee said that they make more profit by prep and packing instead of using a prep center. Wouldn't you make more profit by using that time to source instead of pack? The way that she was explaining it is that her husband was doing a lot of the prep and pack. So she sort of kind of has like a built-in employee, and that was saving her the money that would go to a prep center. I'm expecting that you're talking about Sam, which is a good episode. She burns at a temperature much higher than I'm able to get to, I believe. My guess is she's doing a lot of tax exempt as well, because I know that she lives in the state of Florida. So I'd imagine she's getting around the tax, and saving that $150 a unit by, having her husband or her as well help. If sourcing is not a problem for her, which it doesn't seem like that is any sort of bottleneck, then I totally get it. And what she's trying to do is she's trying to amass as much pure profit as possible to reinvest back in the business. So it seems like to some people, it might seem like she's maybe stepping over dollars to pick up dimes, but she's just watching that pocketbook really, really closely is all she's trying to do, because she's not using any leverage or anything like that. It's all her money. So it's just being really, really careful.
Yeah. And she's probably the only guest that, even if you listen at a faster speed, you probably still had to slow her down. Like,
right.
If her pace of speech is any indication to the kind of prep motor that she has, they are flying through some units. And I think she was, correct me if I'm wrong, they're doing 3 million, right? Is that Sam's number?
I think that they're on track for 4 by the end of the year.
Okay. So, and we know that she's not prepping and packing $2,000 watches, or transmissions or anything like that, so you have to assume it's probably, her ticket prices are about the same as what all of ours are. So think about how many units that is. I mean, they are flying, right?
Yeah.
And if you could be that efficient, and the that many reps doesn't get to you and doesn't deteriorate the quality of your prep or your morale, go for it. I mean, that's you're actually saving money at once you get above a certain speed.
Yeah. Corey, I've had an Aikido toy get flagged as a dangerous good, and I'm not sure how to proceed or appeal it. Is there an SDS I can get maybe from the manufacturer, or should I just cut my losses? If you are required to get a safety data sheet, which is what SDS stands for those of you in Ann Arbor, if you're required to get that, I'm gonna all season long. You guys in Ann Arbor are gonna get that.
Don't stop. It gets better every time.
Right. If you can get an SDS from the manufacturer, I would do it, but I wouldn't spend a ton of time on it. And here's why. If this is not something that you think you're going to sell for the next 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 months, and if this was just like some clearance item that you got for $5 and you picked up 10 or even 20 of them, and you're never going to buy them again, I would probably sell them somewhere else. Throw them on eBay, merchant fulfill them from Amazon, because it may not be worth the trouble to go, spend an hour or an hour and a half on the phone and then have to deal with sending that into Amazon and getting them to understand it and then fix the listing. It kind of depends on what your plan with that particular ASIN is. Ryan, Dylan, this is the co-founder of Aura, the repricer we talked about earlier. He does a live on Twitter. I am able to catch that every now and again, and he is a smart guy. He is another one of those people whose engine burns hotter, and he's got a lot more mental horsepower than I do, and he does have some good insights.
Dude's like a walking TED Talk,
right? So Jessica, I think we kind of answered your question, so I'm going to skip past that. But if we need to talk about that more, just let me know. Muhammad, hey guys, have you guys set business pricing on your inventory? And if so, how do you maintain it? I have done it once or twice in the past, but I don't know how much it actually moves the needle. If you go over to an Amazon business account, you'll notice some things that get a lower business price, and you'll notice some things that don't. And I don't do it because I don't think it moves the needle. If people are going to buy it and they're on Amazon, they're going to buy it from Amazon. I don't think that being able to get a 2% discount by logging into their business account is really going to make them buy it there rather than somewhere else. And now the people who might care are the actual owners. If someone is using a corporate expense account, they're not going to give a hoot at all. Chris, Luke is curious if you are going to, or when you are going to, Twitchify your background.
No imminent plans. If you see me start, and this is no commentary on you, Mr. Grant, but I'm still along for the ride, right? Like I'm still just happy to be able to just show up on these shows with you, right? It's like if I ever get the impression, if I start Twitchifying my background, somebody needs to chop the legs out from under me, because that means I've moved up a level in my ego. I'm one of you guys. Like, I'm just asking the questions. I want the answers to these questions as much as you do. So this is self-serving. I'm not here for you, the audience. This is all just very selfish. So don't expect any neons anytime soon.
I'll tell you what, I when I decided to do this, I had this competing thoughts in my mind. And it was one, it's like, oh, well, people are probably going to be like, what are you doing? You're a 39-year-old man, what are you thinking? But on the other hand, I was like, you know what, if I do this, if I try to step up the game a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer in here, get a 4K camera, upgraded the microphone, got some better lighting, I was like, maybe it'll force me to make some more videos. And then I took it a step further and I was like, well, the other thing it could do is I actually I miss working in my basement. When I lived in Ohio, I had a basement. It was dark. It was cool. and it was just me hunched over the keyboard, banging away. And so like I covered the window. It's dark in here. I closed the door, and it's kind of like, okay, it's monk mode, if you will. And I thought maybe I'll focus a little bit more too. And that made the decision for me. So
Yeah. It's like showing up as an amateur golfer. It's like showing up in Payne Stewart like knickers, like bright plaid knickers, like just looking like you. I mean, if you wear something like that, you better play pretty well, right? Like my dad, he said I had these plaid shorts or something, right? And they were not super bright. They were just, but they were red, like true red. And I showed up at the golf course the one day, and he goes, "Boy, you better put up some sort of number wearing those goddamn shorts." so it's kind of the similar thing, like act as if, So I love the up in the production value. I'm a fan. Just, I mean, it makes me look like I'm in a double wide over here, but hey, that's all right.
So Gene, hey guys, can we talk about what the F is happening with Nike? I mean, this is going to be conjecture, that's all we can offer you, unfortunately. My guess is that Amazon is probably trying to clear out counterfeiters. There are a known number of counterfeiters on a lot of Nike listings. It just happens. And Nike themselves has teamed up with Amazon in the past to actually sue counterfeiters. So I don't know. And listen, I'm in the game. I'm right in there with you. I was ungated in Nike forever, and then I was gated, and then I was ungated, and now I'm gated again. And I have had, I've had one request to become ungated denied. I'm going to keep going. We don't quit. That's the whole thing. But that's the only thing that I can imagine is Amazon just trying to keep counterfeiters at bay. There are these rumors that Amazon's coming back to Amazon, because at one point Amazon was Nike was either a first party seller or a wholesale distributor to Amazon. And based off of one LinkedIn post from the CFO of Pattern, it then rippled through the Amazon community that Nike was coming back on Amazon, and it was going to happen within the next 18 months, even though the post specifically said, here's why Amazon should start selling, or here's why Nike should start selling on Amazon again. It was really his love letter to Nike, probably to try to get his foot in the door to be the brand, the company that sells that brand.
Yeah, exactly. It was a veiled sales pitch.
Genius.
All of us. Yeah,
it was genius.
Yeah, very smart.
But what is actually happening, I can't tell you any more than that, other than if you are gated, try to do the right thing, try to get ungated. We know what Amazon accepts for Nike. It's Nike.com. That's not a secret. Go buy some stuff, send it in, keep sending it in. When I'm all done with mine, I am going to share the exact method that I use, because I think that the way that I send in receipts and invoices and things like that is better than the way that most people do it. And so I'll share it publicly. Like, this is what it looks like.
I got a sneak peek, and it is very pretty. Take my word for it.
Flamingo flyby. A billionaire is doing a spacewalk today. That is correct. Yeah, going to the depths of the ocean and going out to space. I don't care how much money I have. Nope, not for me.
Nope.
Flamingo's got a question for you, Chris. What are you spending your tactical arbitrage rubies on, or are you just collecting them?
Yeah, for a long time I was just collect. That's kind of like my nature, is like I have all these points, and because the problem with it's like a savings account, right? It's like I'll put money into a savings account, but you can't spend it because then you don't have a savings account. Like it's a stupid like obstacle that I can't get past. But no, in this particular case on tactical arbitrage, what I was waiting for, because I actually spent some of my rubies, and because I actually had to increase according to reverse search, because I'm still 100% reverse search on tactical arbitrage. So I had to expand I think it was my viewable data or something on reverse searches. But when they put the restrictions in, the minutes limits, it became very obvious to me, at least, that most of the offerings in the TA store were worthless, right? Because if I have a minute, if I have a cap on scan minutes, why in the world would I want to expand the number of searches that I can run simultaneously? That's just going to push me up against my limit and cost me money faster, right? So I kind of, when they put the caps in, I worked within what I was given, and I would push it as far as I could without giving any extra money. And I didn't the whole time they had that restriction in, right? So anyway, so I had this ruby spent. So the only worthwhile thing to me became doubling my always be scanning. But that's 100,000 rubies. So once I realized that was now the new prize when they had scan limits, and I had already spent the rubies on the reverse search, I was frustrated because I was quite a ways away from it. But so I was very happy I finally achieved it. And then of course they took scan minutes away, so now always be scanning is less impactful. It's less of a prize because you can run 4 at a time, as many scans that you want. So, but I mean, still worthwhile. I mean, you can dictate what you want within your 4 scans at a time, and you can find the products that you want or search for what you want to search for, but then also simultaneously have always be scanning, searching deals that are outside of your purview. That's pretty sweet. I like that. So if I can double that, I will, like twice the opportunities that I don't have to put any work towards, because I just have a VA do it. I just tell them, once or twice a month, say, hey, jump into always be scanning and see what's in there. So that's what I wanted. That's what I was saving up my allowance for.
I like it. Angel, how do you get ungated in Gerber? I would imagine you mean Gerber like the baby food, not Gerber the knife. If I'm wrong, you can. Yeah,
knives are babies,
right? So I'll tell you what. While Chris was talking, I was listening. I did listen, but I went out and I just searched Gerber wholesale, and on page number 2, I found a place. I'll just go ahead and say it's Empire Distribution. Go there, try to get an account. You should be able to get ungated. There are probably easier ways. You might be able to use a Walmart receipt, maybe. But if you want to have a wholesale, invoice, there's a place like that. That's probably, I might try Walmart first, because it's going to cost you 98 cents times 10, and send it in. If, after 20 or so go arounds, they say no, then I'd probably go out and, spend more on it if that's something I really want to get ungated in. Let's see here. Flamingo, I've been paying a neighborhood kid to pack a bit, and it's been great money spent. You are doing that kid a good service. Jeffrey, I noticed that Rakuten hasn't credited me my cash back for many transactions. Does this happen often to you guys as well? Any tips? Yeah, it does happen. So you have to read some of the terms of service, because sometimes sites that will let you order will also have terms that say we don't pay cash back for resellers. If they see that you are a reseller, they claim that you're a reseller, you may not get that cash back. Other times you might just need to open up a case and see if you can get the cash back. And sometimes that happens as well. But that's really the only kind of two things that you can do.
Rakuten specifically, they make it really easy to send an appeal in. I think the link is, once you look at your shopping trips or pending cashback or whatever they call that page, I think the link is right there, and if it's not preloaded, just open it up in another tab and you can just copy and paste the order number, slap it in there, and I mean they get back to you really quick. And I think I'm upwards of 90+ % of the time getting that cashback credited to me.
Nice. Mark, I read recently on Twitter that there is an account health risk to buy bundles and break them down to resell in smaller quantities. Do you guys know anything about this? I'd love to read that and understand what the thought process is behind that. But I don't see how that would be any sort of account health risk. If you are buying a legitimate product from a legitimate supplier in a 6-pack and it looks exactly the same as the 1 or 2-pack that you're going to list on, there should not be an issue that I'm aware of. You can show that you bought a pack of 6. I don't know. I'm looking at Gerber Graduate Puffs cereal snacks on my screen right now. They sell them in a pack of 8 at BJ's Wholesale Club. If I broke that down and they were the exact 1.48 ounces, the same flavor, and I put them in 2 packs, I can easily show Amazon that these are the actual right products. They match 100%, and I don't see an issue there at all.
Yeah, I mean, like stuff like this, when you read it on socials, or God forbid you see it in the seller forums, you got to consider the obvious right away. Are people breaking down multi-packs that specifically say not for individual sale? Or think of like health and household products from like a Sam's Club or a Costco, ones that come in the blister pack. Like if you're buying a 3-pack and a blister pack where the individual units, where say it's a vitamin, and you break open the blister pack and you're putting, you're just selling the bottles when the individual units come, the bottles in a box. Yeah, you're going to have issues, because somebody's going to notice, like, hey, this is, there's plenty of stories of people showing pictures in the reviews of just terrible prep decisions, prep jobs.
I saw one recently where someone bought they must have bought like an 8-pack of bar soap, and they broke it up and put the bar soap without any over boxes. So, it was one of those bar soaps that don't come with any boxes around the soap. It just comes in an 8-pack. And then they put those in poly bags. And so, the soap was all like busted up and stuff. Horrible decision, absolutely horrible.
I like the eBay groups when they buy something and it comes in like a pizza box.
I've seen one wrapped in a diaper, before. Maj, what do you think of people saying that Amazon is saturated now? That is a popular thing to say at the moment.
Hold it.
It's a popular thing to say at the moment. And I won't say that the people who are saying it are, not good Amazon sellers or anything like that. But, there are some people who are moving away from the Amazon space because they found something that either aligns with their values better, aligns with the amount of work that they want to put in better. And so we often need to give ourselves this good reason why we're doing something. And oftentimes that reason is not because I want to. We actually need to justify it. And so if those people say, oh, Amazon is saturated now, so I'm moving over to this other thing where the grass is greener, it makes them feel better. and it gives them the opportunity to be loud about something that feels like a hot topic at the moment on social media, which also will get clicks and eyeballs, which is why it feels like you're seeing it all over the place. Because one person says it and then another person parrots it and another person, and then everyone's like, yeah, exactly, you know? Um, so is Amazon saturated? My opinion, saturation occurs when something is no longer profitable at all. Can an ASIN become saturated? Yes, absolutely. Can, I don't know, several ASINs become saturated? For sure. Can a catalog of almost a billion ASINs become saturated by less than 2 million active sellers on Amazon? No. The math does not math in that situation. And we don't even do public math. So I'm just guessing. Um, you need to zig when everyone else is zagging, on Amazon. You need to we need to think a little bit more critically. Can you go out and just sell? I'll use Nike socks as an example. Should you go out and just sell Nike socks? No, absolutely not. Should you only look for things at a 50% ROI that are ranked under 25,000? No, you shouldn't do that either. Um, you need to treat this like a business. Treat it like I like to treat it like a Vanguard fund, a mutual fund. You've got those fast selling items. You've got those items that maybe take a little bit longer and you don't sell quite as many of. But there is still plenty of money to be made on the Amazon platform. Otherwise, smarter people than us, like the people who run Pattern, would be moving off the platform. And Pattern is obviously moving toward the I mean, they just opened up a business to help people ship more stuff into Amazon. So if they're not saying, oh, you know what, maybe we should not do that and we should focus on growing another channel, then I'm not too worried about it right now either, because they're actually run pretty well.
I can't wait for all the people that don't trust prep centers. Like, I can't wait for those people to find out that Pattern opened this business. Like, you have trust issues with the prep center. Wait till you hear what Pattern did. Oh, that'll be entertaining. Yeah, but
Right.
Maj, you know what? Think about who's telling you that it's saturated, right? Is it someone looking at data, or is it someone who's been selling for a long time that is resentful of the changes and the fee increases and has been in the game long enough that they're taking a lot of hits, a lot of things that make selling more difficult. That cliche, the beginning of these sentences, the back in my day, is it people who start sentences like that saying that, and you have to discount it, right? Because there's, I saw this great thing. I fight whatever natural urges I have to become the get off my lawn old man, right? uh and I actively fight against it. I tell people, like, I'm in like high school, my high school class has a Facebook group and stuff like that, and I like actively like fight against them, like, shut up, like, wow, that's a bad example, but like, you know, it wasn't that great back then, and I saw this great meme, and it said, back in your day, it wasn't really better. You just miss being young, and I was like, yeah, that's what that is. It's funny. There's an ex-girlfriend of mine that really likes to post this, like, like, she hates the modern generation, right? She thinks they're just nerds, and just, they don't know anything. They'll never survive. They're soft. They're snowflake. Like, she just goes full in, and she goes, back in my day, I got on my bike first thing in the morning. I drank from the hose, and I didn't come back until it was dinner time or dark, and that's how it should be, and she's, again, I said ex-girlfriend of mine, and I'm sitting there like, you skipped school and lost your virginity at 12. What the hell are you talking about? Like, Jesus Christ. Like,
The kids are going to
let's
be
consider
fine.
all right, come on. I mean, maybe you got some rose tinted glasses there a little bit, right?
Absolutely. That's crazy. Angel.
Allegedly. Should I throw that in there?
Allegedly.
All right.
Angel, why does the offer count sometimes go up steeply like a reverse IP complaint? And Luke made a good suggestion here. It wasn't preceded by a drop, like maybe it was a compliance request that got resolved. It's possible. It's hard to know for sure. It is sometimes maybe listings got merged. That could also be another thing. If there was a duplicate listing somewhere and Amazon put them together and now all the sellers are on one listing, that's another option. Sometimes there's not an answer though.
Tony's comment. Dated women from the 20s.
What percentage?
Don't sleep on the flappers, right?
Right. What percentage of your leads do you find from tactical arbitrage versus manual sourcing? I'll let you answer that one.
I mean, that's really tough to answer because I mean the only way I could give you an accurate, like a numerical percentage would be if I had it scheduled exactly the same week in and week out, and that's just, that's not reality. My personal setup, I've got a couple VAs and, they spend the bulk of their time going through TA results, and then they do some manual searching off of that. But, their seed is the TA results, and I set up the scans. They don't set up their own, but, so I'm dictating basically what direction I want them to look. I fire up TA and then they kind of sort through, everything that came back from the direction I pointed them in. Right. So, and they have good weeks and they have bad weeks, and, my manual sourcing and their manual sourcing, there are good sales weeks and bad sales weeks. There are weeks where, I start getting a little sweaty, a little clammy, when it gets to like Wednesday, Thursday, and I look at my sourcing spreadsheet and there's not a whole lot of entries in there, and it's, so it's fluid, I mean, you can't, and on top of that, I'm not being mean, but I don't really care. Whatever the number is, okay. I wouldn't feel the need to adjust it up or down no matter what that number was. Because I just want profitable products and I just want to keep pumping the units in there and I want the numbers to look good. And, if they drop in, if it's a postcard from a random store in my mailbox that day, like, sounds good. I'll do whatever it is.
Don't sleep on those postcard, those discount postcards that show up in your mail. All right, so I'm gonna try to do this tactfully, okay? Because I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not not saying that this is a bad question or anything. I think the question is wrong, okay? And let me explain. I think that there's misconception that I can either find products using tactical arbitrage, or I can go out and I can find products doing manual sourcing. Both of these methods should be married. When you find, let's say that you run Chris and I we run dueling reverse searches, just for fun. And we find a product and we're like, great, it's profitable. We can get it pretty easily. Great. That then needs to be married with a manual search for a couple of reasons. Number one, I need to go out and I need to see, well, can I find a better discount code? Can I find another coupon code? Is there some way to build that moat? Is there a discount gift card? What's the best cash back? But the other thing that I should be doing is I should be doing a manual search. Can I find this at another place that will allow me to buy more, that will give me a better price. What is on page 3, 4, and 5 of Google that tactical arbitrage just doesn't have access to, or doesn't even know about, that I can go and pull? And then if I'm doing manual sourcing, for example, I did some manual sourcing on a site last night that was running a sale just because I thought it would be quicker. It was a very small sale. What should be happening is if that sale is continuing to go on, I should go ahead and run a tactical arbitrage search of that manual search that I'm doing and just see if it pulls out anything that I might have missed, because it can go a little bit deeper into the Amazon catalog than maybe I am, or maybe it picks up some other multi-pack, or it just sees something that I skipped over. And I think that's the way that we should be sourcing. They're not mutually exclusive, and the people who use tactical arbitrage are not, not any worse or better than the people who only manual source. If we're going to use tools, we should use them to the best of our abilities, and marry them together to make them even better.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, the days of assuming that everyone is running tactical arbitrage scans, so if you find something there, that's somehow the equivalent of a lead on a massive lead list, and it's meaning that it's destined to tank. That's outdated now. Especially with the way you can manually search the things that Seller Amp and Rev Seller have available to you, to where you can just go and you can right click and that tip that you used about the keyboard shortcut, 2 clicks of a keyboard and you can pull up Rev Seller in the sidebar and you can just manually fly through sites. So so people are using that and they're on Walmart, they don't need TA is irrelevant at that point. People are just able to source, so it still comes down to the same principles. Pick the stores that have a little bit less traffic, that are less obvious. Everyone's looking at Target, everyone's looking at Walmart, whether it's through TA or whether it's through manual sourcing or whatever. But and that's a good point. Keep in mind, when I said I don't care, remember that I am 100% reverse sourcing. So I think my answer would be slightly different if I was setting up store scans for sales and stuff like that. I may not be able to look at it from that perspective, but basically if I'm doing reverse sourcing through TA, I'm batching storefronts that I stock, right? But I also do that manually as well. Just Rev Seller makes it super easy with the storefront analysis and whatnot. There was an anniversary of Saving Private Ryan. I forget what number it was, but essentially it's the equivalent of, you had the guys on the ground and with the machine guns, but then you had Barry Pepper up in the tower with the sniper rifle, right? And so I'm Barry Pepper. Hopefully I don't have the same outcome as Barry in the movie, but I'm manually sourcing with the sniper rifle up top, and TA's got the machine guns, so they're firing off more reps than I am, but it's up in the air on who's going to have the body count. It's probably neck and neck, even though they're firing a lot more bullets, if that makes sense.
Yep. Now I'll tell you what, I'll give you one tip that makes this super simple. Okay. Chris talked about the keyboard shortcut. Let's just say that you go and run a reverse search and you open up a product, you open up the source site, you open it up on Amazon, and let's just say it's not profitable. Okay. Maybe the numbers were a little off, or it's cache data or something like that. A lot of people would say, oh, well, that was a swing and a miss for tactical arbitrage. But the quick win, and this is on both unprofitable and profitable products, is down below that product on a source site. Typically you're going to see, oh, these are the other things that people buy, or you might also like this. You should just take a few seconds and throw each one of those into Rev Seller, into Seller Amp, to see if any of those are profitable. And that's an easy way to rabbit trail off of a product from Tactical Arbitrage, which is the marriage I was talking about. All right. Angel, so you did mean Gerber knives. Go to gerbergear.com. That's where I would go. Jeffrey, just curious, how would the site know you're a reseller? The retailer then tells Rakuten that I'm a reseller, and then I won't get credited. Is that correct? Well, retailers, they can say anybody's a reseller. They might think someone who buys 3 of something is a reseller, but those sites, they have, if they identify you as a reseller, maybe because you're buying 10, or maybe you're buying. The way that I get noticed is, like, oh yeah, I'm buying 10 beauty products across 6 different of your beauty products. I'm just going to buy 10 of each. I mean, nobody buys those kinds of quantities of beauty products at one time. So of course it's going to get marked as a reseller. And I'm sure that sites have a way to say, oh, well, we don't pay out these affiliate commissions, because that's what it is. That's what cashback companies are getting. They're getting an affiliate commission, and they pass a portion of that on to you, and they keep a little bit in between. Okay, they're doing an arbitrage. The site can probably just mark that in their system, and then it doesn't pay out the affiliate commission. That's all. Oh, Chaz, you should see the crap prep we see come in from other. I can only imagine.
Not bad.
Tony, first Q4 doing FBA, selling about 40K a month, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do about storage space. I believe I use 80 square feet. They've allotted me 300-ish. Do I bid on more, apply for an increase? I think you'd be surprised at how much 300 square feet is going to get you. Well, it's not square feet, it's cubic feet. 300 cubic feet is probably going to get you a fair amount of space. You may not need any more if you're selling some volume, which is what we expect out of Q4. But if you absolutely need more, before you go bidding on more space, I would open up a case and just say, hey, could I get some more? Because I'm sending in an X-sized shipment that I expect to sell through within 30 days. And maybe that will work. But worst case scenario, I would bid on more if necessary.
Yeah. And you're also going to have the counteracting increase in sales velocity. You're going to have more inventory, but it's also going to be selling faster. So that's going to kind of balance it out a little bit too. So.
Doesn't Pattern go after people via IPs for brands? They do on some of their listings, yes. This is, again, conjecture, okay? For those of you in Ann Arbor, that means this is a guess. That's too. My guess is that they have agreements in place with some of the brands where they're allowed to also do, the brand management, and some of them, the brands may not want that, So I would imagine it just depends. But there are some where it's very obvious. They file IP complaints. There are some other brands I've seen where it doesn't seem so obvious that they're filing IP complaints on other sellers. Probably a good rule of thumb, though, to stay away from the listings that they're on.
I'd imagine it's probably heavily influenced by the accounts that they get exclusivity on, right?
I would imagine, yeah. Lynn, I just had a shipment close, and Amazon is saying I have 16 more items than I sent in. I know my numbers are correct. I packed it myself. Any suggestions on what to do? Yeah, you light a Saint Bezos candle and you thank him for the blessings, and don't worry about it. You won the Amazon lottery. Down the road, they will undercount your inventory and not reimburse you what you should have gotten, and it'll all even out in the karmic universe. But even if you opened up a case and showed them pictures and the weight scale and all of that, they would tell you that you don't know how to count, and they did it right, and they would sell through the items. And they may fix it in a week, and they may, cut it back to the actual amount that you sent in.
We'll put it on the agenda for when we finally get the sellers council together. Just be like, hey guys, please let Amazon know that only so many labels print out. Like, I don't just get 16 extra and then, the cashier didn't just accidentally pack 16 extra in my bag. Like, it's tough to go over.
Right. Jeffrey, do you guys have a directory of recommended prep centers in sales tax-free states? Right here in the chat, Side Hustle Network runs Network Prep. It's a good friend of mine, Chaz or Charles Leslie. They run a great prep center out in Oregon, which I happen to be a client of. They're fantastic. I do have a massive list of prep centers on my website over at cleartheshelf.com as well. If you wanted someone on the East Coast or something like that. But you want good communication, you want quality, I would go and talk with Chaz. There was another one in the middle of the country that I used to tell people to go to, but unfortunately, they are no longer doing prep. Manual sourcing, Tony, is such a trap for a new seller. I know your boys will want to fumble through the cold sale, but you got to resist and be strong. Look through a storefront instead. I like it.
Yeah, and you know what? The storefronts, like, it's already, like, the stuff that they have has already been verified that it's a good buy by another seller. Now you don't know the standards, you don't know the buy cost or whatnot, but you know that there's a scenario where a peer has decided this purchase is a go. So, I mean, it feels like a head start, right?
Absolutely. And remember, I know a lot of people say, oh, well, storefront stalking is stupid. You're finding it after them and all this stuff. No, if it's not good now, which you'd be surprised how often it actually still is, it is probably going to be good when the next sale rolls around, or you find a better coupon code, or you find a better discount gift card. We do a little extra, do 2 extra steps than your competitors, and you'd be surprised how much farther ahead of them you are.
Yeah, there's way more nuance to it. I was shocked, like when I really dug in and Storefront Stalker Pro makes it, that dashboard really, you can glean a lot of knowledge off of that, just simply watching stores over time, and watching what comes in and out if you pay attention. And it's worth mentioning, I've gone into the multiple ways that storefront stalking has educated me just doing it. But we're approaching Q4, so, and we've predicted before that merchant fulfilling is going to be a significant strategy. I think that most of the community agrees with that. So if that comes to fruition, storefront stalking stores that are merchant fulfilling, you're not all of a sudden you're not looking at expired coupon codes. You're basically getting stuff as close to real time as you can. The only way you could get that information faster is if you were looking through their warehouse windows, because they're posting it. It's the type of thing where if you find a storefront that is posting stuff for sale, like in store, which we've talked about, we know that happens. There's a scenario where you could actually have their product the same day they did. If you were, if you had something like Storefront Stalker Pro and you were getting notifications, it's probably a long shot. I'm not saying that's, that's a strategy that, you can build your own store around, but it's possible. But that's how fast it is, which of course means that if they're merchant fulfilling, you may catch products that the sale's not over yet. You may still be able to find that same discount that the store that you're stalking got that at, which is a huge advantage.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, because that reminded me of just made me think of a video that needs to be made. I've got a good tactic that I'll share with everybody. Luke just spent about $400 by rabbit trailing a brand sale I found from Storefront Stalker Pro yesterday. I love that. Love to hear the wins off of that. Chris, you and I have talked about Murphy's Law on the pod. You know, the law where anything that can go wrong will go wrong. But have you ever heard of Cole's Law? Thinly sliced cabbage.
I wasn't sure if you're gonna go like Nike socks or Kohl's bras, or I thought for a while it was gonna be an Amazon specific a dad joke there. So
I wish.
What's we got a late question. I only have stupid dad jokes, so we might as well take this late.
One more, Justin. What do you guys look for in a listing that you'd be happy with bypassing a test buy? Hard to find item, limited stock. Potentially. Let you know something. Chris and I actually had this conversation just recently. You know, what do you look for? And it was something that we were actually looking at together. So personally, I want to see something where the price is really steady, like for longer than 3 months, longer than 6 months. I'm talking a year and a half. The price is really solid. It helps if there's limited stock. That is not a bad thing. Hard to find, of course, would be, you know, if I know that I'm really the only person who's going to be able to get that. Maybe I'll give you an example. Let's say that it's an item that's only sold in the UK, but you've got a little British store in your neighborhood and they're like the only place that sells this item. That would make me feel a little bit more comfortable as well. But in the end, it really just goes down to what is my buy price? How much do I expect this to sell? And how steady is that price? Like what are the chances that this is going to run down to a 0% profit or lower, where I'm going to have to liquidate at a loss? Because it's going to hurt a heck of a lot more if you're liquidating 100 units at a loss than if you just had to liquidate 10 units at a loss. So that's really the biggest thing for me.
Yep.
All right. One last one. Is the OA Challenge open? We always have the replays for sale, but the next live is not going to be until 2025. So, all right. With that, Chris,
guys, what is here? I found what's brown and sits on a piano stool.
That's a good question.
Beethoven's Last Movement.
Oh.
See, I'm down. I'm down to the dregs. The ones that I've passed over week by week. I need to restock my my joke list.
I do too. All right, guys. On that note, we are out for the day. We'll see you guys next Wednesday at 5 p.m. and talk to you guys soon.